How on earth do you stay positive and productive and just not fall into a pit of despair when you're getting deferred from colleges or waitlisted at colleges instead of accepted? Right? Or if you're a parent, how do you help your teenager not see this as like the end of the world? Hi. On that happy note, I'm Nick Dawes, independent educational consultant for Dawes Academic Consulting, and I help Bay Area families navigate the college application process. This is going to be a harder video. It's more feelings, it's less facts. So I wanted to start off with some words from the College of William and Mary's admissions page. They have a whole page on their website dedicated to helping students understand different admissions decisions that have been made. They have deferred, they have waitlisted, they have denied. And in that last column, they begin by saying this: you are smart, you are accomplished, you are kind, you are deserving. Any school would be lucky to have you. The decision is not a reflection on you, it is only a reflection of how many amazing applicants we receive each year. The only thing I would change about that is that it's also a reflection on the school's priorities for that year. But I agree with their overall message. You could be successful at that college and many of the other colleges that you've applied to. But the reality is that with some colleges receiving over 100,000 and in some cases 150,000 applicants from all around the world, when they only have 2,000 to 9,000 seats available, colleges can create tens, if not hundreds of thousands of permutations of freshman classes that are all unique and all equally qualified and equally strong. That's something we need to remember, because if they don't accept you, that's not a reflection on your value. It could be, depending on where you're applying, it could be just the luck of the draw for you that year. And maybe in another year, the admissions decision would be different. So how do you cope with that uncertainty? Especially when you start receiving deferrals and waitlist offers instead of acceptances. Everyone's going to get a few acceptances, which is great. But whether they come first, I hope they come first, makes those deferrals a little easier to handle. But if they don't come first, how do you cope with the deferrals until you get your acceptances? And, it's even harder when you're surrounded by friends who are getting into places and they're celebrating and they're excited. And you're like, well, I just got deferred from that college. But like, good for you, dude or lady. What is an anxious high schooler to do? So I want to go through some things to keep in mind and some things that we can do. Number one is to remember it's not personal. In her book, Valedictorians at the Gate, Standing Out, Getting In, and Staying Sane While Applying to College, Dartmouth admissions counselor Becky Sabke notes, quote, college admissions officers make business decisions based on what's best for the college. These decisions are not personal, and an admitted student is no more impressive than a denied student. I put emphasis on business. I did that. She did not. Because this is a business choice. It's about the college's needs, the college's priorities. And let's be real, it's also about their finances, right? Can they afford another student who needs $50,000 in aid? Or do they need to take someone who needs $5,000 or who needs $0, right? So that the college can continue to thrive. Now, at some schools, they have huge endowments, but at a lot of schools, they don't. Their endowment might only last them 2 years. And so it's really important that they make smart choices and make healthy financial choices for themselves so that the college can continue to exist. And Ron Lieber makes the same point in this book, The Price You Pay for College, an entirely new roadmap for the biggest financial decision your family will ever make. Ron Lieber makes the same point. He says, quote, it's not about you. It just isn't. So, it might not help to hear that in the moment when you get the deferral, getting a deferral and then having someone say, it's not about you. Probably not helpful, but try to remember it. Grab a sticky note, write it down, or take a Take an expo marker and write it on a mirror in your bedroom or in your bathroom. Put this, whether it's on your computer monitor or your iPad, put it in a book that you're going to read. Don't put it in a book and shove it on your shelf. Put it on your wall next to your bed, wherever you're going to see it every day. It's not personal. And when you're feeling crummy or you're feeling a little bit worried, look at that and just try to refocus on that idea that it's not personal. It's not about you. When I was in college, I had a sticky note, especially for grad school. Oh my God, grad school was rough. And I wrote, let go of the things you can't control so you can focus on those you can. And that was on my monitor. And I saw it every day. And, between writing research papers, trying to see friends and have a social life, and reading all the books I was reading like 4 books a week. It was brutal. I spent a lot of time in front of my computer screen, so it made sense to put the sticky note there. And I would look at this every day, and I would think about things that were bothering me that day or that week, or things I was worried about going forward. And I would inventory mentally which of these things are in my control, which of these things aren't in my control. And then I would try really hard to focus on the things that were in my control and just nail those things, take care of those things, and try as hard as I could to worry less about the things outside my locus of control. And I tell that story to make the point that those negative thoughts still happened. They're still going to happen. Whether I'm talking to a student or a parent, you're still going to feel bad, or your kid's still going to feel bad about not getting in. I still worried about things outside my control, but I use the sticky note as a grounding device to go back to and just try to remember and refocus, pause, figure out what was going on. What was I worried about? Can I control it? Can I not? If I can control it, great. Let me tackle it head on. If I can't control it, well, shoot. But what can I control? Let me tackle that and focus on those things. So those negative thoughts are still going to happen. We just have to not let them dictate the entire course of our day or our week or our month as we're in this rough, anxiety-ridden waiting period, right? And it's totally normal to feel that way, though. The other thing to remember, regular decisions aren't out yet. Unless you're watching this video in March, you're still waiting. So what that means is your story's not over. There's still other colleges, there's still other places that you can go, there's still other places that can and will accept you, right? Whether you applied to 2 colleges early, 1 college early, 10 colleges early, you still have regular decision schools. I'm sure of it, right? And if you got deferred, you still have regular decision results to wait for from those deferrals. There's still awesome possibilities ahead of you. That's the point here, right? And the funny thing is, like, everyone focuses on the ED kids and the EA kids, like, oh, I got in. And they're super happy and they're super excited. And that's great. That's awesome. Those of us who get deferred more or don't get in ED to their ideal school or their first choice preference can kind of feel like you lost, right? They won, you lost. Ugh. But there is a flip side. The ED student has to go to that one school. When you start getting back all your RD acceptances and you've got like 6 possibilities to choose from, and maybe this one offered you 20 grand and this one is only 5 grand a year and this one's going to give you $50,000 to go, and you've got all these great choices to make and you're excited about the possibilities, excuse me, that ED kid is stuck with the one choice. And they might be perfectly happy, but some of them might also look around and say, did I make the right decision? Could I have gone to this other school? Or could I have gotten scholarships if I didn't apply ED? Those students are going to have their doubts. They're going to have their little crisis moment. It's just going to happen later than yours. Yours is happening now while they're excited, but they're going to have doubts too. You are not alone in having worries and having doubts in this process. So it's not as if Those students won and you lost. You're experiencing your hardship in this moment. They will experience a hardship at some point later when they start seeing all their friends getting into other places. Now, some things that we can do beyond the sticky note, beyond just sort of our mental state. Number one, go back and look at the schools where you have been accepted. If you got other acceptances early, or if you had like a regular decision or a rolling decision school, go look at those. When I build lists with my students, they research every single college, so they know exactly why that college made it to their list, why they're excited about that school. Go back to those notes and remind yourself why those other schools were on your list in the first place, why you were excited to go there. Dig deeper. Go look at the program, go look at the classes, go look at the study abroad, look at the internship opportunities that current students have gotten at that school. Book a tour. If you're a student, talk to mom and dad about going to visit the college, and maybe try to talk to admissions and see if there are students that you can get in touch with to learn more about what life is like there. Get excited about those things. Be excited about the schools that are excited about you, right? Like, why not? You applied there for some reason. So focus on that. Remind yourself why those schools were on your list, why you applied there. And then if you do get to tour, walk around the campus and try to imagine yourself living there. Try to imagine walking to class. Come prepared with questions to ask current students on the tour or in the info session, to ask the admissions people. Ask about classes, professors, food, the dorms, anything that'll help you make a decision about that school. This will not only arm you with more information about the college so you can make an informed choice later, but it's a great way to occupy your time and get excited about another place that was excited about your application enough to admit you right then and there on the spot. And doing that is better than doom scrolling on TikTok and Instagram, looking at all the videos of people opening up their email and like, oh my God, I got in, and that kind of stuff, and just feeling bad, right? It's better to do something proactive. While we're doing something proactive, try your best to avoid comparing yourself with others. Easy for me to say it, way harder to do, but admissions decisions are highly individualized. I didn't say personal because it's not personal. They're individualized. We can't compare our results to the results of others. Your courses are different, your grades are different, your rigor is different, your extracurriculars are different, your major is different, and what you care about within that major is different. At some schools, one major will have a 2% admit rate and at the same school, a different major will have a 40% admit rate. So just because one person got in and you didn't, doesn't mean that they're better than you. Maybe their program has an 80% admit rate and yours is a 5. Maybe they applied to 4 early schools and you applied to 1. So of course they're going to get more notices back than you're going to get. We can't look at a school and say, you got in, I didn't, what happened? And we can't say, oh, you got into 8 schools and I got into 5, what happened? Or the other way. We can't say, I got into 8 and you got into 5. Like, wow, what's the matter? You can't make those sorts of comparisons. So try not to make those judgment calls about who's better or more deserving than others just because of admissions decisions. They don't work that way. All right. So let's try to avoid that trap of comparison. And then the last thing we can do, something proactive, and some students are going to roll their eyes at this, is to start journaling, specifically a gratitude journal. If you applied to UPenn, you might remember the thank you letter essay that they ask you to write. Or if you didn't apply to UPenn, I think it's prompt number 4 on the Common App, is to think about something that's made you grateful in a surprising way. There are gratitude prompts in the college application process, and there's a reason for that, right? Being grateful and expressing that gratitude, whether we write it or we tell someone in person, can have surprising impacts on our psyche, right? Beyond the obvious, generally better attitude and being a happier person or whatever, students have reported less anxiety, quotation, this is a quote, less anxiety, and more satisfaction with both their friendships and their life 6 weeks after they started writing a gratitude journal. Students who practiced gratitude reported being calmer, less stressed, more focused on learning, and more motivated and resilient in the face of academic challenges. This is from Psychology Today. So take some time every day, 20 minutes. Think of at least one thing that went well that day. One thing you're grateful for, one good thing that happened. Write that down. I don't care if you use a spiral notebook or you use like a Moleskine journal, or if you use the Notes app on your phone, or you download a journal app like Calm or one of those other ones off of an app store somewhere. Take 20 minutes and write every day one positive thing that happened, one thing you're grateful for, right? And do it every day. Regardless of how you record that gratitude, it's important to take a few minutes and recognize the good things in our daily lives. You might realize that you have more going for you than just your college admissions acceptances, right? And who knows? You could take UPenn's advice and actually take one of the pieces of gratitude that you've written down and share that with the person that you wrote it about. You could tell them, you could text them, you could turn it into a letter and actually send it to them, right? So, in summary, getting a deferral or even a denial, it sucks. It hurts. There's no way around that fact. But it's important to acknowledge that even though it hurts, that doesn't mean we have to mire ourselves in that feeling. Be disappointed. Be sad. Take a couple of days. Experience that. If you need to talk to someone, a friend, a trusted adult, if you have a therapist, whatever, that's fine. But after you've taken a little bit of space to sort of feel that emotion and live with it and digest it, start focusing on things that you can do. Remind yourself that these admissions decisions aren't personal and that it has very little to do with you and that you can't compare yourself with others, right? And these colleges themselves even admit you are awesome and you could be successful at their school. But there are really weird, random reasons that you didn't get in. And remember that your story's not over. You will get into college and you will go do awesome stuff. And it's that awesome stuff that's going to dictate the path of your life, not the name of the university that's on your diploma. Look at the colleges that did accept you. Get excited about those programs. You might realize that your ideal college has already sent you an acceptance letter. You just hadn't looked carefully enough at the school. Or you might tour a school and they might pleasantly surprise you. And suddenly you've fallen in love with a school that already loved you and loved your application. And that would be great instead of focusing on the deferrals and the denials, right? I want you to leave with this. You will go to college somewhere and you can do great things any place you go. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. The disappointment will pass, but the decision that led to that disappointment had very little to do with you. You're going to be fine, or your kid's going to be fine. So, if that video helped you, then please help me by liking, sharing, and subscribing, or following on whatever social media platform you prefer. Doing so really helps allow me to do what I like to do, which is help students and families manage the college application process. And if you're looking for more targeted support yourself, there's a link in the description that'll allow you to book a consultation with me, and we'll see how I can help. It's free. Anyway, thanks again for watching.